Welcome on another episode of Creators Corner. My name is James Dale, and my next guest is Amanda Mendoza. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for asking. Thank you for coming on the show. Here at Creators Corner, we like to showcase talented people in our neighborhood and in yours so we can encourage people to be the best version of themselves. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what brought you to be an artiste?
Yeah, sure. So again, my name is Amanda. I've been creating art ever since I was a teenager. It was just something that really helped me get my emotions out of my head. I had a lot of thoughts, but I didn't always know how to speak them. And so it was just always super comforting for me. So essentially now, what do I do? I'm a acrylic painter. I also occasionally work with pen and inks. I've been creating murals over the last couple years and just kind of expanding. I really love to try all different kinds of artwork. The main subject focus of my work is usually around mental health and healing, talking about trauma and how to heal from trauma, at least my personal journey with that. And so my hope for when people see my art or we're connecting is that they can also relate to these pieces and maybe feel a little more seen and less alone in the world, because I know trauma can definitely make us feel lonely, right?
Yeah, it can hinder you, definitely.
Yeah, so that's kind of a little snapshot of me.
Okay, that's great. So how did you transition from using art as a coping mechanism to being a professional artist?
Great question. So I guess there's a little story behind that. I feel in high school definitely was a coping mechanism. I would create a lot of I feel pieces, or people might think it was darker pieces because it was a lot of drawings and paintings of a girl that just looked emotionally scarred or really sad and hurting. I went to college and I initially was going to major in art education at Central Connecticut State University. Okay. I was only that major for about a month because my family and my friends scared me out of it. Oh. They were like, you're going to live in a cardboard box. You're not going to make any money. Don't be dumb. And I was like, I guess you're right? Because I'm 18. I don't know what the world is going to look like. So I switched to a psychology major, kept an art minor, as well as an East Asian studies minor. And art kind of fell by the wayside, sorry. Kind of fell by the wayside. And I started doing a lot more work towards victim advocacy for sexual assault victims. Out of college, I started working in that field. And after doing that for a couple of years, I was like, something feels missing from my life. Art had it was gone because I think people scared me away from it. So I really missed it. I started an Instagram page and was just sharing pieces I had done from high school at first. And then by the time that the pandemic happened in 2020, it we were all home. I think everyone picked up a new hobby. So, and I'm such a perfectionist that so often I would not start pieces until, I wouldn't start because I wanted it to be perfect. And so I found acrylic pouring was a really big new art thing that was happening during the pandemic, which is essentially just fluid acrylics, very abstract sort of pieces. And that helped me get back into just feeling the fun of art again and not focusing so much on the perfectionism. That's what helped me step into actually there's a lot of imagination that's happening up here, pieces that I really need to get out there that I haven't been able to for however many years. And then I started posting more online. So I think I started my art Instagram page in 2018 or 2019. And then I saw that there was art opportunities to, vend in Parkville Market or like art festivals nearby, and just feeling inspired by seeing other local artists here in Connecticut, or even just online, seeing people do it professionally. And I thought, wait a minute, like this is really what I want to do too. And I started slowly sharing my story online, seeing that it was resonating with people and moving people. And then, yeah, like the rest was kind of history from that point on. Herstory, yeah.
There you go. It's herstory.
The rest was history.
Yeah. So you said that you went to school for psychology.
Yeah.
So you became a psychologist out of school, or what did you do?
So I didn't continue to get a master's degree. Typically, like in order to become a psychologist, you need to get like licensed and do all of that stuff. So when I graduated, I started working at a sexual assault crisis center. So I worked on the hotline, was helping sexual assault victims who needed support or were looking for resources. And eventually, over the last 6 years, I was working, doing like trainings for police officers and doctors on like how to best support survivors of sexual assault, while I was doing art kind of part-time on like online and doing the festivals and stuff. And it was just this past January that I quit my full-time job, and I'm now pursuing art full-time.
Bravo.
But continuing my advocacy through art.
So both things are your passion, because you're helping people with your imagination, and you're helping people cope with their own trauma. And that's beautiful. Yeah, and you helping yourself, because you had trauma. We're not going to delve into that. But what I want to say is, how do you choose your pieces? Do you have a dream, and then you say, or you wake up and say, okay, I have to draw this, or do you have just a blank canvas and you just, start a piece, and then up until you finish is when you know what you're going to do?
Yeah.
How's your process?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I feel like a lot of times I feel inspired by like nature, or just like, I don't know, sometimes I'll look at something, it could even, like this happened yesterday. I was working on a mural for a client in their backyard. I was going to go meet a friend for bubble tea afterwards, so I didn't have time to like really get cleaned up. I had paint all over my hands, all over my pants. I got in my car, I was on my phone, put my phone down, and I just looked at my hands, and I saw like paint just like covered around like my fingernails, and I looked and was like, wow, like this just feels like such a powerful
piece,
an image. Like even though it's just like my hands, but it inspired me to think of, okay, I want to paint something like this. Like I need to remember this. I took a picture of it.
That was my next question.
Yeah. Okay. So I would like take pictures, or for instance, for this piece. So this piece is titled Grounded. So I kind of knew. So it's funny. I always tell my friends, because sometimes we'll talk about what's your favorite color, and for me, I always tell them it's leaf green with the sun shining through. Okay. So if you're like going for a walk and you look up at the trees and the sun's shining through, and you see all like the beautiful shades of like yellow green, dark greens.
For me, it's sage. I like sage.
Sage, yeah. Soothing. It's such a comforting color. Yes. And then my friend said, well, that's funny. Like, green's your favorite color, but you don't ever paint with green. And I was like, oh, you're right. I haven't. Yeah. So I thought, okay, I want to use green. And I was really thinking about my like inner child, and like what is healing for this child who has a lot of like emotional scars. And so for this piece, I wanted it to evoke that, right? That leaf green with the sun shining through, nature coming to embrace that child, heal that child. So while maybe at first it may seem like, oh no, like why is this child like curled up into a ball? But it's just like, no, like this child's safe here, finally. Right.
So those aren't cracks; those are veins.
So some of them, it could be open to interpretation. Okay. I think when I started painting, initially I was thinking of like vines coming from nature, coming to like almost start to wrap. Sorry
for the contrast, but like poison ivy.
Yeah, right. Because I feel like I definitely have seen imagery of vines coming in to like.
Heal.
Yeah, like this is coming to heal, but I definitely feel like I've seen it making nature look almost like dangerous in a way, right? It's like coming to grab you and take you into the woods or something.
Like Maleficent, that movie, that image comes to mind, like Sleeping Beauty with the apple and the vines.
Yeah, but this is kind of, like you said, it's like a contrast to that. But it also does give this imagery of like cracks.
Yes.
So, and that's kind of what I wanted it to look like. I was playing around with this different levels of opacity of like the grays and the darks on the skin, because I wanted it to look cracked and almost, I don't know, fractured. So yeah, I'm really proud of this one.
Yeah, me too. That was a beautiful piece. I saw this piece at the art exhibit that you curated in West Hartford. And my daughter, she used to take art classes there when she was 3, so that was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And she would draw ducks and scenery and things of that nature, and she drew things from memory.
Yeah.
She doesn't draw anymore. She wants to be an engineer.
Oh, cool.
So that's something that you have to have a great imagination, and you have to be mathematically inclined as well. With this, it's just freeform. So if you didn't go to school for art, would you be a artist? Like, would you have pursued that as a career path?
Had I not like gotten my art minor?
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely, I think so. It was something that I always really wanted to do. At first, I wanted to be an art teacher because I felt like my art teachers in high school and in middle school really, I don't know, they just really encouraged me. And at no point did I ever feel that they judged me for like what I would have assumed were like darker pieces that I was making. Because I think they saw what was happening. Like, okay, like...
But an artist.
Like, it's an artist, let's support her. And I thought, I want to, like, support people through that, too. Right. And, like, because art's fun. Yeah. But, yeah, because I feel my art classes at Central, they were much more, like, introductory of kind of, like, learning the basics, right? Color theory, line weight, like, things like that. But I wasn't in the advanced enough classes where it led to more free-form art. So, I mean, definitely still helpful. But, yeah, I think it still would have happened regardless. This just happened to be the journey that I went on. Did some psychology, came back.
It's beautiful. So you still have a whole life ahead of you, so there's a whole bunch of other things you can try, and you can inspire other people through interviews, through your art curation, and going and helping people in trauma centers. So you are doing exactly what you need to do, and where you need to be is right here now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that is beautiful, and I commend you. And a lot of people don't get their flowers while they're still here. So shows like this, that's why I started Creatives Corner, to help people show other people that are kind of scared. Then they're living their mundane life, and they're kind of scared to really truly live out their true self, because, like you said, society tells you that you need to do something to make money so you can pay bills.
Right.
Not necessarily something that you want to do for yourself that's going to feed you more than your bank account. It's going to pad your mind, your body, and your soul, and you can illuminate and be bright and inspire other people to do the very same. So I commend you and applaud you for doing exactly what you want to do. Yeah. And you quit your job, and you are where you need to be, and that's beautiful. So can we take the time to explain some of your pieces? And to notice in some of your pieces, hands are the biggest subject of your pieces. Is that something that is ongoing, that is this a main focus in your pieces, or it just happens like you explained?
Yeah, I know, right? It just happened yesterday, and I was like, I want to make another hands piece. So it was funny. When I first started, the first hand piece I did was this one up top. That one's called Pathway to Healing. So the background is actually created with an acrylic pour technique. So it kind of has this like really cool spirally layered sort of thing. I let it dry, and I thought, you know what? This is missing something. Like, okay, there's all these spirals, but there really should be a focal point. And I thought, wait a minute. What if I let this acrylic pour painting dry, and then when it's dry, continue painting it? Like, the painting doesn't need to be finished. And I think in that moment, so the story behind that piece, I had been going through many years of just like processing trauma, but also it was leading up to this big moment where I was going to testify in front of our Connecticut state legislators to change a law.
What was the law?
So the law was to extend and or eliminate the statute of limitations for sexual assault cases. So I prepared a 3-minute testimony. I went up and I shared my story about how the police failed to investigate my sexual assault case from when I was a kid. They didn't do so within the statute of limitations. And because of their neglect, I was not able to pursue and find justice. So I actually finished this painting like the night or two before the testimony. So looking at my hand, and I had, at this point, I had been doing therapy for like 6 years, and a huge piece of my therapy was trying to convince myself that I'm worthy of love. Like, because time and time again throughout my life, like I'd just been through things that made me believe that I was unlovable or that I wasn't deserving of respect. And here I am, right, testifying in front of the legislators, like clearly like the adult version of me is like, no, I am deserving of respect. I am deserving of love. I should not have been treated that way. And no other child, like in my watch, is never going to be treated this way ever again. And like, so if there's any way that I can help change laws so that this doesn't happen, I'm going to do it. So on the wrist of the hand on the painting, it says, "You are worthy of love." And it just, I don't know, for some reason, it felt really important to me as like a reminder. I ended up testifying, and that law did end up getting changed. So it actually fully eliminated the statute of limitations for child sexual abuse cases specifically. So what that means is there is no time limit for a kid. You know, if this happened to you when you were a kid, nor before the law, there was kind of like you had, I believe it was like 20 years to come forward. But there are some people who it can take decades to have the strength and to the courage to come forward. So now that time limit's gone, like, right, healing isn't under some sort of like time limit in which this needs to happen. So that was a big win. It was super amazing.
So and you can add lobbyist to your title.
Yes, also a lobbyist. So that piece is where the hands thing started. And then I believe the next piece would have been this one in the corner called "You're Not Alone." Those are two hands reaching towards each other. Also an acrylic pour piece. That's how it started. Took me 2 years to finish because the perfectionist part of my brain was like, I can't start. Like, I'm going to ruin it. And then just told myself, do it. Like, you just need to do it. You've had this image in your hand of just like two hands reaching towards each other. I'm always someone who struggled to ask for help, but the second my friends or family are like, Amanda, I need help, I'm running, right?
The person that always helps, it fails to get help for themselves.
Yeah, so I don't know. For some reason, it just, I think hands, to me, evoke so much emotion and so much, like, can be seen from just, like, the positioning of, like, the fingers, like, the stress, and I think even when I like am stressed out, I start like fidgeting and stuff, and people can see that, like, so I don't know, it just kind of happened, but I kind of love it at the same time.
Keep it up. That's your thing. This piece speaks to me because it's it means two things for me. One, it could mean I need help, but not really, because the fingers are not extended, or it can mean that you are extending your hand for somebody else to reach, for you to get the help that they need.
That's really nice.
Because that message says you are loved, and it's on the hand, so it's like an extension of that help that somebody needs.
Yeah, and while like it's been really comforting to see how people resonate with that piece. Like, I've had people come up to me saying like they're in recovery or they've like self-harmed in the past, and when they see that, they're like, oh my God, like this hits me so much. And I'm like, wow, like I hadn't even thought about it in that way, but like, right, because I have my own story behind that and what that means to me, but like that piece resonates with people beyond survivors of sexual violence, like survivors of recovery or domestic violence or even just suicidal ideation. Like it's powerful, and I don't know, I was just really happy how that came across.
Yeah,
so.
that's a beautiful piece.
Thank you.
Yeah. And this piece here.
Yes, so that one, I'm trying to remember what year that was. I think it was also the pandemic. It might have been 2021. So I discovered later in life that I am someone in the LGBTQ community.
Okay.
So I identify as bisexual, but I didn't know that until I think just being able to be away from the society a little bit, and so for me it was kind of this whole time I had been in the dark. I had no idea about, I don't know, it's there's still so much I'm processing, but I think we grow up in a very heteronormative society, right? You grow up, your kids, and people are like, oh, who's your boyfriend? Or who's your girlfriend? Oh, you're gonna marry a man someday, blah, 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 And so I just never questioned it. And then I met other queer folks, in my workplaces, and I found myself just actually, yeah, I think there's this, untapped part of me that, does have, an attraction to other genders beyond, the opposite sex. So, that piece was kind of, me coming to realization of actually I am LGBTQ. I don't know how much the viewers may know, but there's also a lot of stigma around bisexual individuals as well. Unfortunately, they're often told oh, okay, you're not queer enough to be here because you also like the opposite sex, but you're also not straight enough because you're so this is also me trying to fight against that. No, it doesn't matter. I am queer. I am deserving of this rainbow to represent, a piece of my identity. And this was also the piece I used to come out to my family.
Okay.
There was a show in Middletown called the Out and About show. It was meant for queer artists to come and display their work during June, which was Pride Month. And I put my piece out there. I posted on Instagram. I was like, hey, I'm queer. Come to the show if you want. I told my mom, and, thankfully, things worked out great, but it was definitely a very emotional moment for me, and it kind of made sense that art was that tool for me, right, to speak up and share, my truth in a different way. And yeah, so that's what that piece is about.
I like this piece because not only are you, I'm going to assume that character is you.
Yeah.
Right? You are unclothed, so I mean you bare, right? And reaching up to a already steady, looming, gleaming rainbow, and the color of the rainbow is illuminated on your hand, is reflected on your hand as well. So you're reaching for the rainbow, not the stars. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I like that piece.
Oh, thank you.
And this piece here, this piece is on your business card.
Yes. So this piece is titled Beauty in the Chaos. So this is also an acrylic pour piece, but I was inspired by this other artist named Liz Yamet. She's based in England, and I saw that she was doing acrylic pours, but creating portraits from the already wet paint. And I was just in absolute awe of her work. And I was like, oh my God, there's endless possibilities here. So I wanted to try it out for myself, but for me, it was essentially, I put a canvas down on this living room floor, started pouring. I grabbed some popsicle sticks afterwards, and I was literally just forming the face by pushing this paint around into this kind of, sort of, it's not super abstract because there is a face there.
Surrealism.
Yeah, almost surrealism. And I loved how many marks on the face there is. I feel so often when people are painting portraits of people, right? We have very smooth faces, so we want to make it like as blended as possible, as smooth as possible in the highlights. But this was just like, no, these are just lines and blobs, and so for me, it just felt like the first time in a while I could just get lost in the painting. I worked on that for about like 6 hours straight, because the fun thing about acrylic pour, but also the intimidating thing, is you can only work on it when it's wet. So once it starts drying, like you really can't do it. So it had to be then and there. And I felt like titling it Beauty in the Chaos just kind of made sense to me. Like, for me, what this represents is like the history of our life. Like, I don't know, when I think about my family history, even like generationally, the history of my family, like there is so much mess, so much trauma, like, but there's also so much beauty. Like, all of those things make me who I am, makes my family who they are, and there's beauty in that chaos still. So that's kind of what I wanted that to emanate. And yeah, it's a piece I'm also very happy about. And
right, the character is embracing that chaos, and in this world everything is superficial, like you said. When people paint anything, or you see your favorite model or an actress or an actor, they are at their best. You know, they are very slender, and you know their skin is flawless, and they're wearing the best clothes. But underneath all of that is a lot of the emotional things that they go through when the cameras go off. And with this piece, it shows that the character is embracing those flaws. And it's not just the contours of your face and how voluptuous your lips are. It is everything that makes you, you. And that's why I like art per se. I'm not an artiste, you know, per se, but I like art. So being in the presence of an artist that you can actually pen your ideas and your imagination on paper is something that not everybody can do. You know, so my favorite piece, because I've been married for 17, going on 18 years, is this beautiful portrait here of you on your wedding day.
Yeah.
Where was that?
So this was in Hartford City Hall.
Okay.
So fun little story. So my husband and I, we actually met through YouTube.
Okay.
So back when I was a teenager, I would create like music videos out of like anime.
Okay.
And so I'd be like, oh, I like this Linkin Park song. All right, I'm going to choose this like fight scene in this anime, and they're going to battle it out to Linkin Park. And so that was fun. And I met so many online friends that way. And during college, I ended up in a Skype call. People probably don't even use Skype anymore, but
Zoom now.
Yeah, Zoom now. Ended up in a Skype call with another group of people who edited music videos out of anime. And my future best friend was right there, and he lived in England. Okay. So we started talking every single day. After 2 years, he was like, you know what? I'm going to fly to New York, and we should meet up. And I was like, you're right, we should. And we started dating. That was 2016. He flew over, and we had been in a long-distance relationship. He proposed to me in 2019 on my birthday, and we started the process to move him over here to the U.S. The pandemic happened. That pushed things out, but he finally was able to get his visa, moved over here in 2021, and we got married. It was essentially like the 90-day fiance thing, where we had 90 days to get married. And yeah, so we went to Hartford City Hall. Unfortunately, his family couldn't be there because the borders were still closed. But we had a little Zoom laptop out for his family to watch.
Skype. It would have been Skype.
It would have been, well, it was Zoom then.
Okay.
I think, yeah, Skype died down after that. But, yeah, pulled up Zoom, had his family watch the ceremony, and we'll be married for 3 years in November.
That's beautiful.
So,
That is a beautiful thing. That is my favorite piece.
Thank you.
Not to take away from all the other ones, but this resonates with me because I'm married. You know. So your last, I'm sure this is not your last piece.
Right.
But this piece behind me here, if your audience can see that piece. I'm
Yeah.
gonna move out of the way
No
so you
worries.
can explain this piece while I'm off camera.
Sure.
So you can place me. This piece
Here,
here.
hold this up. Yeah, so this piece is titled Into the Abyss.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a piece that also took me about a year to finish. Not because I was working on it so diligently every day for a year, but I felt like I was in a very lonely place, in a place of kind of like depression and confusion and loss. And this was a piece, the first time I didn't really have a plan. I was like, I feel like painting a bunch of blues right now. So the beginning of this piece, it might be difficult to see now, but I just took like a brush and I was twisting it into like circle motion. So there's like a lot of texture of these like circles that go from like these dark kind of muted blues into a lighter blue up to the top. And for a while, it just stayed like that. It was just a very abstract piece, and I thought, I have no idea like what I want to do next. But then I thought to myself, well, actually, I think that's the point of this. Like, it's okay to feel lost. It's okay to feel like confused. Why not just like embrace that feeling of just not knowing? Like, right? Like, I think I'm someone that always worries about the future. What's the next step? What am I going to do? And so I thought of like a woman, and I wanted the hair to flow out because I feel like for me, I have so many thoughts. Like, I'm a very anxious person. And so I'm trying to think of every little scenario. So I almost wanted this hair to just like flow out. It's almost like all of these thoughts like flowing out of the head. And just letting it be. Like, almost like, right, letting your hair be. Letting everything just be and exist. And then I was like, you know what? I want to splatter, like, this canvas. Like, just let it go, you know? And so I titled it Into the Abyss because I think we all have our own, like, darkness within us, confusion, or times that we're feeling lost. And, like, it's okay to be in that abyss. Like, it doesn't need to be a scary place. Just let it be, you know? So yeah, that's kind of what this piece means to me. And I feel like is a piece that I think a lot of people recognize me for, because I feel like this was one of the bigger pieces I had that I would show and bring to places. So I believe this was also maybe 2021 that maybe I completed it. And I feel like around the time that I was really trying to be more like professional with my work, like I'm trying to really get myself out there and have like a name for myself. So yeah, this is definitely one of those pieces for me.
Yeah, I like this piece here. This is a showcase piece.
Thank you.
So, out of all of your pieces, do you sell any of your pieces, or they're all your personal piece that you just go out and showcase? You kind of like your business card, so to speak. Right.
So a lot of the pieces I showed you, like for instance, like Into the Abyss, Grounded, my You're Not Alone, Pathway to Healing, like those were all pieces I was like, I'm not selling. I'm not ready to sell. And I've had friends that would be like, let me know when you're ready to sell. I have officially, for some of them, they are available for sale, like Into the Abyss, Grounded, You're Not Alone. Pathway to Healing, I don't think I'll ever let go. I don't know. This piece just feels a little like, I don't know. It feels like a moment in history for me, so I'll probably keep that forever. But I am.
Would you like reproduce it? Like have posters made of it?
Yeah, so I actually do have prints like of all of my pieces available, whether that be like paper, like prints, or canvas prints. Because I know like accessibility is like a huge thing too, right? Like art. It's hard being like an artist and also a business owner at the same time, and also trying to find like the value in your art. And there's some people who say like art is a luxury, like you should like price yourself as if like it's luxury, and I like totally understand that. And in another sense, I'm also like, I want art to be accessible to everyone as well, which is why like I have prints, things that are smaller. because I like if someone really resonates with that piece, like I want them to be able to have it. It may not be the original, and that's okay.
That's fine.
That's fine.
They can do reprints on canvas, so they can still get the same feel as it was in the original.
Right.
Piece.
Yeah. So that's totally available, and I also do commission work too. So often I'm like painting people's like pets or maybe family portraits.
That's great. Like this piece, these pieces here.
Yeah, so that's of my cat Lunar.
Okay.
But yes, I've done lots of cats and dogs for folks, like especially around the holidays. They make like really great gifts for people who unfortunately like may have lost their pet recently, or you just love your pet and you want to you want a picture of them.
So what is on the horizon for you?
Oh man, the future question. So for me, I am about 8.5 months into my like full-time art journey right now.
Okay.
It's been a lot of exploring. I'm trying to figure out like, how can I keep this going, right? Because some months it can be a little scary. Like, I don't know. Things ebb and flow, and I think that's the journey of being self-employed. But for me, I am looking to see what other like community art projects I can do. So right earlier this year, I did do the art exhibit titled "The Stories of Bravery, Healing, and Hope: Survivors Art Exhibition."
That was beautiful. Whoever went to that exhibit, you was in for a treat, and whoever did, you missed out. But I'm sure a lot of people like myself filmed a lot of the pieces that was in that exhibit, and you got a chance to visually experience the exhibit if you wasn't able to go there physically.
Yeah, and also for those who did miss it, I'm actually gonna upload like a virtual exhibit of the Survivors Art Show on my website by the end of this month.
Okay.
So I was able to have a photographer like take photos of all the artwork. Also the opening reception event, we had tons of people there. It was amazing. So I am looking forward to putting that online because there were even some artists there that lived out of the country or lived out of state who weren't able to come themselves, and I want people to have that opportunity to be able to just soak it in and see it online. So that's coming. I'm hoping to maybe have more community art shows next year. Of course, that's all planning stages and trying to figure out funding and all that. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to creating more work, trying to create more pieces. A part of me has also been thinking about like playing with clay a little bit. So who knows? Anything could happen, right? But yeah, I'm just looking forward to exploring more and getting to know more people in the community, and like it's just been great to have you here, and thank you so much for your time as well.
No problem. Thank you for coming. And where can my audience reach you if they need to hire you to paint their portrait or they want on any of your pieces?
Sure, yeah. So I guess just like a rundown of some of the different things that I do, and in case that's interest for folks. So of course I do like acrylic paintings and like illustrations. I also do mural work. I can design like stickers for folks or potentially, right, could be illustrations for children's books. I kind of juggle a little bit of everything. So my website is www.amandamendozaart.com. My username is @AmandaMendozaArt. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. And my email is amandamendozaart@gmail.com. So you can feel free to message me through there. Or if you go to my website, there's also a contact form list there too. And yeah, I also do like paint parties and classes. I've recently been doing like private lessons for a young artist recently as well. So yeah, like honestly, if you have any art idea, like we can chat, and if I'm not the person for you, I might know someone who is a better fit. So
that's good. So do you have any words of wisdom for any budding artists out there?
Ooh, words of wisdom. Oh my gosh. Well, I guess some things I've learned, like ultimately like create things for you first. Explore kind of what brings you joy, like what makes you feel inspired, and also know that art doesn't need to be a business if you don't want it to be. That's also something I've been like balancing in my head, like turning, like art is a passion, and I love that I get to do it for work every day, but there are also parts of it that make it like, oh man, kind of hate that I made it a job sometimes, because that also means maybe creating the things that don't speak to your soul, right? And that's like the balance as well. So definitely, I think do it for yourself first, and your audience will come from the things that you create and what resonates with them. I know it can be really easy to kind of like maybe scroll on TikTok or Instagram and be like, oh, like this person has a lot of followers, I need to do what they're doing. And it's like, well, no, like they're doing what's true to them. Like you need to do what's true for you. And your audience will come from like those things that you love to do. So just, yeah. So that's my piece. That's my advice.
Okay. So thine own self be true. And on that note, my name is James Dale. This is Creators Corner, and this is the lovely, talented Amanda Mendoza. And I'll see you on the next one. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. Join us next time.